Centuria is a Latin substantive from the stem centum, denoting units consisting of 100 men. It also denotes a Roman unit of land area. 1 centuria equals 100 heredia. It is sometimes anglicized as century. Roman use. Political. In the political context, the centuria was the constituent voting unit in the centuriate comices, an old form of popular assembly in the Roman Republic, the members of which cast one collective vote. Its origin seems to be the homonymous military unit, as citizens could serve in both until Gaius Marius. A reform shifted the main form of military recruitment from conscription to professional contracts. Military. The centuria was the pivotal tactical Roman legion unit after the Marian reforms of 107 BC. It originally consisted of 100 soldiers, later 60 to 80 men distributed among 10 contubernia. The remaining number of men required for a full count of 100 was taken up by various non-combatants attached for administrative, logistical or other purposes within the legion. Each contubernium lived in the same tent while on campaign or the same bunk room in barracks. Centuri were grouped by pairs forming maniples, and later into 6 century cohorts. A century was commanded by a centurion, who was assisted by an optio or lieutenant and a sergeant tesserarius. It had a banner or signum which was carried by a signifer. Also, each century provided a buccinator, who played a buccina, a kind of horn used to transmit acoustic orders. On the battlefield, the centurion stood at the far right of the first row of men next to the signifer, while the optio stood at the rear, to avoid, if necessary, the disbanding of the troops and ensure the relay between typical closed order lines used by the Roman army. However, the first cohort was twice the size of the other cohorts. Each of its 5 centuri was a double centuria of 160 men. The first cohort thus consisted of 800 men. Centurions of these first cohort double centuri were called prima ordines, except for the leader of the first centuria of the first cohort, who was referred to as primus pilus. Other uses. The term centuria was later used during the Spanish Civil War to describe the informal bands of local militiamen and international volunteers that sprang up in Catalonia and Aragon in October-November 1936.